Thank you for joining me once again here on Talkin Fight for another episode of Boxing News Today from boxing headquarters here at Talkin Fight in Toronto, Canada. Let's start off with what is certainly making the way across the headlines. With respect to women, specifically transgender women, so in other words, women who started off life as a man or a boy, who now want to box and compete against other women in the sport. So USA Boxing has adopted a new policy regarding transgender athletes. And quite frankly, it's infuriating certain people across the spectrum. Advocates for trans women's participation in the female category are pointing to some of the harshest restrictions in sport, whereas people who oppose trans women in the female category are upset there's any path to participate for them. The WBC, as you know, on the international stage has barred trans women from the female category, saying they will build a transgender category. In other countries, governing bodies like Box New Zealand have also followed suit. So the policy has a number of key elements to it. First, every athlete under 18 must compete in the category corresponding to their sex assigned at birth. This flies in the face of many of the more strict trans inclusion policies in sports, which allow for athletes to compete in their gender category as long as they haven't experienced puberty. Yet in boxing, a 15-year-old trans girl who's been on puberty blockers since they were 10 still has to compete in the male category. Second, adult boxers who have had gender reassignment surgery. For years, sports governing bodies have moved away from this requirement, so the return to this requirement for USA Boxing is putting the push forward toward broader trans inclusion in reverse. Third, adult boxers have to show they have had testosterone levels under 5 nanomoles per liter for 4 years prior to competing. That 4 years is the longest wait period for any sport that allows trans women to compete in the female category. Now, USA Boxing is facing widespread criticism for their policy, and at this point, considered the strictest in sports. On one side, people are critical that the ban has any path to participate for trans women in the boxing females category, whether the policy mandated 4 years or 10 years. I'll never agree to this, said Ebony Bridges. It's bad enough having trans women breaking records in other sports like track and field, swimming, and powerlifting, but it's a bit different to them breaking our skulls in combat sports where the aim is to hurt you, not just to break a record. Now, the skulls line has been used to target trans athletes in combat sports ever since Fallon Fox, competing in professional mixed martial arts 6 years ago after her transition, broke the eye orbital of an opponent. Critics say she broke her skull simply because it sounds worse. Michaela Mayer had this to say on Twitter or X: hormone therapy is banned. By default, this should make trans athletes ineligible for competition. Doesn't matter how you feel about the situation. Fact is, it's illegal and completely disrupts an even playing field that sports work so hard to create. Riley Gaines, the former college swimmer who came to prominence arguably publicly against trans women in female sports after competing against Leah Thomas, said a trans woman will end up killing a female boxer. Mark my words, it will take a woman getting killed before these misogynistic fools wake up. Wow. So it's making the headlines. Believe me, Google it and you'll see every single major newspaper, not just boxing pages online. Every single newspaper that I can see is taking up one side or the other of this. Mainly is news, but let's have a look. Clarissa Shields said, this is, I don't know, not the right decision. As I said, Ebony Bridges has spoken out. Michaela Mayer has spoken out. Ebony Bridges continues, in fact, I don't care about political correctness. It's politically incorrect to have a man fighting a woman. And I don't care. That's exactly what it is. This society's too soft. This is our health and our safety. The girls need to stick together, or women's sport in 50 years will be filled with male born champions. And she added, it's bad enough having trans women break records in other sports like track and field, as I said earlier, swimming and powerlifting, but it's a bit different to have them breaking our skulls in combat sports where the aim is to hurt you, not just to break a record. It ain't just about the test levels, what their bone density is, a heap of other biological factors. Cutting your bits off and adding boobs won't take back the masculine maturity your body has gone through before you decided you're now a woman. It does get more convoluted, I suppose, depending on what side of the fence you're on. But let's go back into the boxing world that we know today, because we have some fights upcoming, I see, including quite a few women. Let's talk about a few of them. One of the more petite fighters in the boxing world, yet who has certainly made a name for herself, Tina Ruprecht, is back in the headlines as well. Looks like she's got a fight lined up against, let's have a quick look here. I knew this name a second ago. Sorry. It's a long article. Remember, Ruprecht defended her WBC belt more than 2 occasions after beating Yocosta Valley back a few years ago. And they were supposed to fight again, but they didn't. They got canceled. So anyway, on January 13th, Ruprecht returns home to Germany to challenge WBC atomweight world champion Fabiana Baitiki. The lightest division of boxing might be Ruprecht's new home for the foreseeable future if she dethrones the reigning champion and becomes only the 4th WBC champion at 102 pounds in its 16-year history. Said Ruprecht, we know each other from social media. I'm happy to fight with her because I've always looked at atomweight. She's very tall, 5'4". Remember, Ruprecht is 4'10" for this class, and I know her style. I think it's going to be a very good fight. For me, it won't be a problem because my normal weight is minimum weight, 105. I didn't have much to lose for minimum weight, so I think it's not a big problem for me to now be 102 pounds. Although she'll have to be careful to avoid temptation training throughout the entire Christmas period. I have to be careful, she admits. No cookies, but it's okay. For somebody to turn pro like to the likes of Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall, selling out major international arenas, Ruprecht is delighted by the accelerated growth of women's boxing since 2013. When I look back at the beginning of my career, there was almost nothing in women's boxing. Now there are more and more unification fights, undisputed fights. It's so cool what's happening right now. The money's still bad compared to what the men earn for their fights, but I think it's getting better. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano have been good example for that. I hope it goes this way. You cannot compare to 10 years ago. It has exploded. So speaking of explosions, let's talk about Natasha Jonas, Michaela Mayer, who will be going toe-to-toe on January 20th. Box, that's BOXXER. Ben Shalom's company promoted the card. It's going to take place in Liverpool. Now, why this has hit the headlines, I suppose, is because it's scheduled for the IBF World Welterweight title over 10 rounds, 2 minimum per round, 2 minutes per round. Michaela Mayer would like it to go over 12 rounds, though, and at 3 minutes per round. To which Natasha Jonas calls for cash upgrade. So if the Michaela Mayer bout is 3-minute rounds, Natasha Jonas would consider facing Michaela Mayer over 3-minute period, 3-minute rounds, if there's more money on the table. So basically, in a nutshell, she's saying, Jonas says, it opens a can of worms. We want fairer pay. No one is saying we want equal pay, but it's got to be fair and show that if you're going to do more rounds, then you're going to get more money. That would be a good thing. For his part, Ben Shalom, a boxer, in another article on the net said the following. Ben Shalom claims the 3-minute round debate in women's boxing is about entertainment and what allows us to grow the sport. And as the promoter says, we'll get there, but insists it's up to the fighters. Anyway, that debate continues. Yeah, it's good to see Jess McCaskill is about to get back in the ring. It looks like she has a fight set with Ivana Habazin. It's set for April 20th to take place in Croatia. After narrowly escaping 2023 with her WBC and WBA welterweight titles in tow, Jess McCaskill is set for an away game when she meets Ivana Habazin on April 20th in the latter's native Croatia. No word yet on broadcast rights. Maybe I should throw in my 2 cents. It's been a rough 14-ish months for McCaskill. 12-3, 5 knockouts, starting November 22. Lost to Chantel Camara in a bid to become the two-weight undisputed. The detour cost her IBF and WBO welterweight belts. And to make matters worse, Matchroom got smoked in the purse bid for her mandatory defense against Habazin. 22-5, by the way, 7 knockouts. That would up falling through. Woo. Guys, a bad left hook, made a little bit of a mistake there. Anyway, leading Habazin to move up to 154 and unsuccessfly challenged Terry Harper. McCaskill instead took on Sandy Ryan, who claimed the aforementioned WBO belt and turned an arguably career worst effort en route to a bogus draw. Habazin returned to the top of the queue. Her promoter again won the purse bid when Matchroom sat out, and now here we are. Ryan was not impressed with the matchmaking, by the way. Posting on X, let's call it the poop icon. Habazin has always come up short in the big ones, but McCaskill seems to have lost a step, and European judging is rarely beholden to reality. Assuming McCaskill takes the fight, which isn't a guarantee, who knows what will happen. But what will happen is Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev, an anticipated clash set now to take place in Saudi Arabia in this upcoming year. WBA 175-pound champ Dmitry Bivol has inked his part of the contract to battle for the light heavyweight undisputed championship taking place in Saudi Arabia in 2024 against IBF, WBC, and WBO champ Artur Beterbiev. Dmitry has talked nonstop about wanting to fight for the undisputed championship since his victory over Canelo Alvarez last year, and he's now on the precipice of getting his wish if Beterbiev comes through in his next fight. For the fight to take place, however, the 39-year-old Beterbiev, 19-0, 19 knockouts, must defeat his number one mandatory challenger, WBC. That's Callum Smith, 29-1. We talked about it yesterday. That's taking place January 13th at the Center Videotron in Quebec City, Canada. If Beterbiev loses the fight, which is very possible, but I doubt it, the clash between him and Bivol will not happen. This is a dangerous fight for Beterbiev, as the 6'4" Smith is in the prime of his career, motivated and looking powerful. If Callum shows the same form as he has since moving up to 175 in 2021, he wins the fight by knockout, which is what Eddie Hearn said he would do, considering Beterbiev isn't what he once was when he fought in the 2012 Olympics and arguably beat Alexander Usyk in that competition. Dan Raphael is reporting that the 33-year-old Bivol has signed his part of the contract for Beterbiev. It's now up to Beterbiev to do his part to make that fight happen. But will age diminish the spectacle? The fight between Beterbiev and Bivol has been talked about for the last 6 years, and it's too bad it's taken this long, as it would have had more meaning if it had happened when Artur was younger. Beterbiev has slowed down the last 2 years. It's harder for him to land his crushing shots like he used to. If the fight with Bivol does happen, it's going to be difficult for Beterbiev to connect against a younger and faster opponent who will box and not take chances. With Beterbiev nearing 40 years old, what credit will Bivol receive from the fans if he defeats him? The casual fans who aren't aware of Beterbiev's age and how late in his career the fights take place, they'll be impressed. But the hardcore fans will view this as another example of a clash that's marinated too long. Yeah, for sure. All right, some heavyweight news. An 8-round heavyweight crossroads fight between 6'3", 260-pound Dante Stone, 14-1, and 6'4", 230-pound Alexander the Great Flores, uh, will be the first streamed pro boxing match of 2024 this Thursday evening at the famed Emerald Queen Casino in Tacoma, Washington. The 10-round main event is headlined by undefeated 6'7", 275-pound prospect Gurgan Big Gug Hasnassian, 4-0, who is matched against the dangerous Colby Madison, 11-6-2. Hovhavnessian is coming off an impressive 6-round knockout over Michael Polite Coffey. Also, 6'5", 275-pound Olympian heavyweight Sasone Ragova, 3-0, will be showcased in a 6-round co-feature against undefeated Dante Williams, 4-0. The card is presented by Toro Promotions and Whitfield Hayden Boxing and will be streamed live on Boxing TV for a whopping $19.99. One last thing to mention before I sign off today. Sad news. Pretty famous boxing manager Cameron Duncan has passed away. We're sad to report the passing of famed boxing promoter manager Cameron Duncan in Las Vegas at the age of 67 after a battle with cancer. Duncan managed current IBF welterweight champion Jaron Boots Ennis and has worked with the likes of Terence Crawford, Timothy Bradley, Kelly Pavlik, Nonito Donaire, Diego Corrales, Mikey Garcia, Brandon Rios, Steve Johnson, Freddie Norwood, Steve Lovano, Johnny Tapia, Mark Johnson, Danny Romero, and dozens more over a career that spanned 4+ decades. Rest in peace, my friend. And there you have it, boxing fans. Appreciate you joining me today. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We'll see you again tomorrow at 11 a.m. here on talkinfight.com. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.